Hey everybody, my name's Andrew, coming to you live from Eagle Beach, Aruba on this wonderful spring break that we're having. And I want to take a minute to explore some issues on social inequality. First off, for those of you that aren't familiar with the definition of social inequality, is described as the existence of unequal opportunities and rewards for different social positions or statuses within a group or society. In this video in particular, I'm going to be looking at a subset of social inequality, and that is racial inequality. I'm going to talk about a personal story of mine. A racial inequality is, while along the same lines of a social inequality, is better defined as the advantages and disparities that affect different races within the U.S. that are manifested in the distribution of wealth, power, and life opportunities afforded to people based on their race or ethnicity. So most families that go on vacations typically have a very easy time going through security, getting on their flight, and getting where they need to go. For my family and me, that's not always the case. I'm a first generation Arab American from Lebanon. I'm also Christian. But since the attack on 9/11, Arab Americans at airports, specifically Muslims, have been the target of extreme racial profiling. And racial profiling is the use of race or ethnicity as grounds for suspecting someone of having committed an offense. And in this instance, most Arab Americans are immediately racially profiled for either what they are wearing, their general appearance as being olive or dark skin, facial hair, speaking their native language, or even just their names for not being standard. This is kind of exactly what happened to me the first time that I traveled alone. I was going back to my senior year of high school. I was flying out of Detroit to Boston to visit some buddies, visit some colleges. And I remember it being like a Thursday night. I was kind of nervous to fly alone. It was my first time traveling alone. And me and my mom were driving to the airport, and she's warning me, giving me the typical mom lecture. But I really didn't think I had anything to worry about. Anyways, I get to the Delta terminal, check in, I'm waiting to go through security, put my bag on the conveyor belt, walk through, get the green light, but my bag gets flagged. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, maybe, just like they just got to take an extra look. But that wasn't the case. I get approached by a TSA agent, pulls me through the body scanner, makes me go through it one or two more times, and then another individual wearing a full suit, a few random badges that I wasn't familiar with, just grabbed my bag, and asked me to follow him into this side room that was like an interrogation room from like CSI or Law and Order. And I was kind of sketched out at this point. But immediately entering that room, they asked me to strip down to my boxers. I was searched really hard. They asked me some pretty intense questions, even including why I had a dual citizenship to Lebanon. And I kind of thought this was uncalled for and unfair. And I was kind of being stereotyped and discriminated against. And by discrimination in this context, I mean like an intentional act of unequal treatment based on an attribute really unrelated to any merit, ability, or past performance. So basically, I really just had no justification to assume and carry out the actions they did. I felt like I was being treated as a member of the out group, for which they really had no justification to do so. And as I was leaving the room, I noticed I wasn't the only one there. There were other people wearing like ethnic garments, hijabs. It kind of just looked like they played the part of your typical Muslim flyer, typical Arab flyer, and this really irritated me. But I held back voicing my opinions because I was running late for my flight. Anyway, I'm on the phone with my mom. I'm speaking to her in Arabic, like letting her know everything's all right. And again, get to the gate, randomly searched, and I was livid at this point. But I'm not really going to go into too much detail on that. I kind of want to talk about the sociological mechanisms that are underlying this whole fiasco that just happened. And I think that they were kind of using the use of social stratification to justify their actions. And social stratification is a systemic social classification process of ranking people based on race or ethnicity. And these TSA members and flight attendants kind of had a preconceived judgment of not only me, but all Arab Americans that wasn't based on any actual experience. When it comes to terms of agency and structure, I would kind of label the TSA and flight attendants as the agent, as they could have acted independently and looked past stereotypes to shape their sense of self-worth and social identity. However, they were ultimately doing their job as shaped by the structure of how society as a whole views Arab Americans, especially when they're flying. And then yet again, these individuals were being constrained by the structure. And looking back on this traveling mess, knowing that I've seen other Arab Americans, including my family and my friends, being stopped or treated similarly while flying, next time I need to be the one to step up and intervene and try to show these individuals how to think in a different perspective and kind of shape their minds to think more rationally instead of kind of just coming at you with these preconceived notions, even though they might be very, very off.